All right, guys, long gestating video. I am going to be ranking top 20 French niche fragrance houses since I started shooting videos. So we're going back to 2012. So any brands that launched prior to 2012 will not be included on the list. It's a top 20 list, though, of brands, niche fragrance houses from France that have been launching fragrances since 2012. So I've got a ton of honorable mentions. I've got heritage brands that have relaunched. And after the outro, there'll be a list of brands that I'll mention, but they didn't make the cut. And sadly, two brands I wanted to include, since I made the rule of 2012, they have been left off. Brands like Olfactive Studio, which I am a fan of, but launched in 2011. And Le Liquid Imaginaire, or Liquid Imaginaire, also launched in 2011. So those brands are left off the list. But I planned this video quite a while ago. I was actually mentioning it in videos that I was going to prep it, but one thing led to another, and it was kind of just sitting there. Then I got the reminder from someone, and I said, okay, I got to shoot this video. I planned it, in 2025. Probably around the middle or around spring of last year, and it is time to do it. So this is in a deep dive format. We're going to talk about 60 fragrances, but probably maybe around 50 brands, who knows. But before I start the list, I'm going to tell you the honorable revival brand mentions. So there's several of them here. So brands like D'Orsay Paris, or Maison d'Orsay, is a brand I discovered in 2022 at Campo Marzio in Milan. And it's a relaunched or a revival classic brand dating back to the 1800s. And of course, I've mentioned Tonka Hysteria from that brand and really love that one. And they have a ton of other fragrances that I recommend. But I have decided to leave that off because, yes, the brand originally sold fragrances decades and years ago, and it has relaunched recently and are doing fragrances again. So the next brand, Violet, or Maison Violet, Violet Parfums, is another heritage brand that I discovered in 2018, 2019, but really didn't start talking about them until around 2021. And En Air d'Apogée is one of my favorites from that house, including being featured in a Scent Club kit. They just launched an extract of that where I do get the similarities, but the extract seems so different than the original. I think I prefer the original. But another great house that I did want to include, but since they are a heritage brand, an existing brand in the past, I left them off. Le GALION is another one that I've spoken quite a bit about, another heritage brand. In fact, I've got videos on the channel of D'Orsay, Violet, Maison Violet, or Violet Parfums, Le GALION, all on the channel. So you can actually search the channel and discover them. I think Le GALION is around 2014, 2015. So they definitely relaunched around that time. But I think Special for Gentlemen is a great scent from Le GALION. Tillul is also a really great one, focusing on the linden blossom, and many other fragrances from this house. They re-released a lot of classic fragrances that they had in the past, redone. And then I think they have rebranded a few times post relaunching around 2014 or 2015, one of those dates. So you can, look up the brand and see, and also search my channel to see what videos I've posted about that brand. And how about ORIZA LEGRAND? It's another house that I've spoken quite a bit about. And I think they relaunched around 2014. I've spoken quite a bit about them. One of my favorite fragrances, Chypre Mousse, I've spoken quite a bit about. I really love that one. So if you're on the hunt to discover these, revival heritage brands, from France, definitely look up ORIZA LEGRAND. In fact, ORIZA LEGRAND was featured over the weekend in my spring fragrances video with a fragrance called Déjà La Printemps. So it's a heritage house, a classic house, definitely worth going to their store. In fact, D'Orsay also has a store in Paris. If you make it there, go to their store. ORIZA LEGRAND store is also great. I don't think the other two brands, Violet and Le Galion, have stores. So I haven't spoken much about Cherigan. There's a few fragrances I enjoy from the house, and hopefully I can do a video on their fragrances in the near future. But it's another brand that has revived, but it's a classic brand, and I've decided to leave them off. LT Pivar, which rebranded recently. I really, really love this brand. And they've redone their packaging. They're kind of sort of similar to some of the presentation of ORIZA LEGRAND. So that's kind of what excites me about this brand. But I'll speak about the brand some in the future, in the near future, because I really do enjoy their fragrances. But once again, it's a revival brand. I don't think I've mentioned the brand. I might have. Well, some of their older fragrances I might have excuse me. Still trying to get over this flu, but I'm much better today. I might have mentioned some of their classic fragrances. Most importantly, their heliotrope I've mentioned quite a bit. But hopefully I'll do a video on the line, some of their new fragrances, and let you guys know about it. But their presentation's awesome and definitely worth checking out. And the last heritage brand, or the revival brand I want to include here as an honorable mention, is Jacques Fath. It used to be a designer, obviously, folded, and it was purchased by a niche group of niche fragrance group of folks, and they revived the brand as a niche house. So I have left them off as well, since, you know, they used to exist in the past. In fact, I have bought Jacques Fath when it was, I don't know if Jacques Fath was making clothing in the 90s, but I have bought Jacques Fath in the 90s. I think it's called Pour l'Homme. But anyway, I've left those off. I just wanted to mention them as honorable mentions here. If you want to look them up, you can definitely look them up. I've got plenty of videos on the channel on Jacques Fath. Most of the brands I have mentioned, but some I do have a lot of videos on. So those are the honorable mentions. And if you wanted to skip around, everything should be timestamped with chapters. So you can just go right to the top 20. But you might want to just stick around and watch the whole entire video. So I am going to start with number 27. I'm going through 27 to 21. I'm not going to mention or smell any fragrances on camera. Only the top 20 list will get actual smells or sniffs. But we're starting off at number 27 with Alexander J. This brand launched in 2012, I believe. And I've spoken quite a bit about Imperial Peacock. Love that fragrance, and they have a few other fragrances. And I wanted to mention them because I do enjoy them, and we've featured Imperial Peacock Innocent Club Kit, and they do have some great presentation for their fragrances, and also launch some awesome scents. Sadly, it didn't make the top 20. So L'Entropiste is a new house with Bertrand Duchaufour behind the brand. He's the perfumer behind the brand, and I wanted to mention them here as well. And obviously they didn't make the top 20 list. Let's see what kind of fragrances they release, but I do have a video on the channel with Bertrand. You can go catch that video to learn more about the brand, and hopefully I'll start featuring more of their fragrances in videos on the channel. So 25, so that was 26. Then 25, we've got HEADSPACE, which I just recently did a video on the channel, and there's also another video with one of the folks behind the brand talking about the fragrances of HEADSPACE when they just debuted their fragrances in 2022. So there's a few fragrances from this house that I enjoy, like Santal, and Kirsch is great. There's a few others too. The Genevieve is also really, really great. I love its cleanness. But check that brand out. You can search the channel. Now, this one was a bit of a tricky brand, Thomas KOSMALA. I really don't associate this brand with France. I don't know why, but it's listed as a French brand. I did a lot of research I can find, and it came up as being French. I never see the brand selling in France when I go to France, so maybe that's why I don't associate it with France. I actually discovered it at Harrods, but anyway, it does say France, and it's listed as a French brand. I'm featuring it here at number 24. It's not listed in the top 20, but I want to highlight it. I've mentioned the brand quite a bit. In fact, I think, yeah, I did a deep dive video on everything that I own for the brand, so if you want to find out more about Thomas KOSMALA, you can as well. The one that really comes up from that brand is Après l'Amour, number 4. And there's a few others that I really like from the brand. So definitely a brand worth checking out. They do tend to use a lot of molecular notes, amber woody notes, and things like that. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth checking out Thomas KOSMALA, whether it's a complete French brand or not. So I put at number 23, HELLENIST. It's a new house. They just launched in 2024, I believe. And we do have one of their fragrances featured in our Scent Club kit. It's a Librata Morphe. I don't know if you guys have gotten your kits yet. It's an awesome iris, violet, nutty, woody, slightly sweet fragrance. But I enjoy several of their fragrances. I really like the brand. The curation of the fragrances is great. From the man behind the brand who worked for Symrise and is using Symrise perfumers. So definitely a brand worth keeping an eye on and seeing what they do. But Librata Morphe is great. Sadly, I have a hard time remembering the names of the fragrances because they're very French names. But the one that's watery and clean and crystal clear, that is a great fragrance. And the new one, the musk, is also, but the whole line is awesome. So had to be included here, but sadly it didn't make my top 20 list. At number 22, we've got Ex Nihilo. No, it didn't make the top 20. No, it didn't. I think the reason Ex Nihilo, I like the brand and I love the fragrances, but I feel like their fragrances are a bit overpriced. I always felt like they were overpriced way before fragrance prices were going up, up, up. Other than that, once you get past that, I think they have some great scents. I really enjoy their fragrances. In fact, I discovered them when their store, brand spanking new, opened in 2015. And I walked in there in Paris and they gave me a ton of samples. I did a video probably on the previous channel, but maybe it's on this channel. I can't remember now. But they've become huge and they crank out a lot of fragrances. They have a lot of extracts. They have a lot of exclusive offerings. But sadly, as I was doing my, notes, it just didn't make the top 20. But do let me know if you're a fan of the brand. I've got a few videos on the channel of the house. You can check them out. But do let me know what your thoughts are on Ex Nihilo and if I should have featured them in the top 20. And then the Harmonist at number 21. They just did not make the top 20. And the Harmonist is another brand similar to Thomas KOSMALA that I kind of do not associate with France because I don't see their fragrances there when I travel, not at stores that I visit, but I believe the Harmonist did have a store in Paris. So I've never been to that store. They used to have a store in LA. I've been to that store, but I think that store is closed. And I discovered the brand at Barney's when Barney's was still around as a retailer or department store. But you can search the channel and find out more about the Harmonist. Sadly, it didn't make the top 20, but there are some great fragrances from that house, especially the Flora Nebula that I recently spoke about. Really awesome scent. I really love it. And their Oud that they came out just before the Flora Nebula. So you'll hear more about the Harmonist. In fact, I've spoken a lot about the Harmonist. And again, doing the math, it just didn't make it in the top 20. So that's the intro. It's a long intro, but as I said, we do have chapters here. You can skip around. I did want to mention these brands that didn't make the list. So we're starting at number 20. And at number 20, we are going with Atelier Materi. So this brand I discovered in 2019. They debuted their fragrances at Petit Fragranza, and instantly I saw their bottles and was quite drawn to them with this kind of stone looking, caps and square, bottles. And so I was drawn to them. I'm going to talk to you about 3 fragrances from each brand that I'm going to talk about here. And again, number 20 is Atelier Materi. We're starting off with Cedra Figalia. I just decided to include 3 fragrances that I think are pretty well known or you should check out if you don't know them. And I think Cedra Figalia is a great update to something like Philosophes from Diptyque. It's a green, woody, spicy, creamy fragrance, but they've amped up the greenness. It's a bit more modernized, and I think it's less milky than the Philosophes or Premier Figuier from L'Artisan, which are very similar fragrances. What I like about this one also, they've thrown in spinach as a note. So it's got an overdose of greenness. So it's super woody, green, really, really green, slightly milky, creamy, but it's just an overdose of the aromatic greenness and creamy woods, and maybe some spices thrown in as well. It smells like spring foliage, but more deeper towards the warmth of spring and into summer. Because sometimes when you walk under the fig trees, you do smell the smell of the fig trees amped up, the smell amped up because of the heat. So this is giving me those kind of vibes. So Cedra Fugalia, awesome scent, really awesome scent. The one I actually discovered the brand with was it was called Peau d'Ambrette before when they first launched, but they renamed it to Bois d'Ambrette. Bois meaning wood. Ambrette is a note from nature. It's from a plant that is musky and powdery, maybe a bit vegetal, and it also has the slight fruity booziness. But it's covered up with a lot of iris powder here. So it's super musky, powdery, dry, and woody, and very, very sexy. Being drawn to the ambrette note, one of my favorites, mixed with, it's powdery, but I told you that it's got all these different, characteristics. It's a bit vegetal, it's very powdery, somewhat fruity and boozy, but mixed with iris, it overdoses with a lot of powdery touches, and then adding the wood. So it's a very woody, powdery, musky offering, and very, very sexy, I think. I love that about it. Bois d'Ambrette from Atelier Materi. And then the third fragrance I want to highlight is Neroli Hasbaya as one of their extracts. I think it's definitely one of my favorite extracts from the house. They now have 4, I believe. They also have the Burgundy, which is, I think, might be a bit polarizing of a scent. The Burgundy? No. The Oregano. The Oregano is polarizing. They have the Amber Papier, Burgundy something, I forgot the name, and then the Oregano, Black Oregano, which I think is very polarizing. But going back to the Neroli Hasbaya, just imagine something similar to Love Don't Be Shy, the marriage of Orange Blossom Neroli with sweet vanillic, marshmallowy creaminess, but thrown in a lot of pistachio, which is a delicacy that I grew up eating. And they've captured it very perfectly because Love Don't Be Shy doesn't have the pistachio's nuttiness. And the delicacy that we have is basically orange blossom flavored ice cream. Super velvety, smooth, creamy. And then once it's plated or it's, scooped up onto a cone and you dip it into chunks of pistachio and then you start eating it up. That's what this smells like. Super yummy. So that's Neroli Hasbaya. So that is the number 20 brand, Atelier Materi. Let's move on to number 19 brand, Ella K. So Ella K, we're going to talk about Musk K first. Musk K. I actually spoke about this one recently in the spring video over the weekend. I don't know what it is about this. It hasn't matured, but it's acting even further sexier since the first time I smelled it, or the previous times, I should say. So it's gotten stronger is what I'm trying to say, and I could smell it. Like, it's a musk-focused fragrance. There's a lot of musky notes, probably molecular notes in here as well. Sometimes you might not pick them up as strongly, but I'm just saying that right now it's acting quite strong, and I could smell it for a fragrance that's supposed to be kind of a personal fragrance. So it's a lot of musky notes, as I was saying. It's powdery, but it's also super clean. And there are some light marine touches and woods running throughout it as well. So it's so good. It's so sexy. And I really love the DNA here. This is definitely a personal fragrance. It's just meant to be worn, for yourself. It's not a projection monster. It's not something that's going to leave a major cloud when you're walking down the hall. But somebody close to you might smell this and be like, wow, you smell so yummy. So that's Musk K. That is the first fragrance from Ella K. Then we've got Amber K. She's got Camellia K, Vanilla K. I can't remember. A lot of K focused fragrances because the brand is called Ella K. But wow, have you guys gotten your nose on the Amber K? It's so yummy. Really, really awesome fragrance. So I'm highlighting my three favorite fragrances from the house. What I like about this one is I like it more than the Vanilla K, or whatever the vanilla one was called. It's like lots of amber, but not heavy and dense like if you consider amber fragrances like Grand Soir or Ambre Sultan or Ambre Presso. There's a refinement about this, but you can also pick up the dusting of cacao on it. So just imagine amber with a lot of woods in the base and that sprinkling or dusting of cacao. So it's a bit chocolatey, but in the end, it's, it's resinous, it's spicy, it's powdery, but not overwhelming because it's smooth. It's super, super smooth, but super sexy. So Ella K's Amber K is yum. Definitely one of my favorites from last year. And then my first favorite from the house I discovered in 2019. I remember when I first smelled it at Javoy in Paris. I think it was 2019. Yeah, it was 2019. It was when I spent a few days before May Day there, and I visited the store and I saw this collection for the first time. And Poème de Sagano. It was a brand that was not distributed or really had far, like it didn't have distribution, so it wasn't easy to get except for, getting it from Javoy. But it's this very green, juicy, succulent take on a green fragrance. It's not anything I've smelled before. It's a lot of mint. I guess there's a lot of mint, so it might come off a bit like mojito. But when you keep smelling it, there's definitely like an aloe vera succulency or something gelatinous like that. So it's a bit tart, it's a bit sweet. It's definitely very aromatic and minty. And kind of giving you the vibe of a health drink smoothie, kind of, because it has that, succulence. It's so yummy, though. Really great fragrance from the house. And perfect to wear in the heat. So that is Ella K's Poème de Sagano. You can see the bottom there. They don't write the name. Oh, they do write the name on the side. Never mind. All right, so that is Ella K at number 18. Number 19. At number 18, we're going to the house of Bon Parfumeur. So Bon Parfumeur at number 18, starting off with 402 Mer Shadow, created by Canton Biche, launched last year. Definitely has become my favorite from this house, but there's a few others that I really enjoy. I think this came out just after the Iris Cartagena, I think that's what it's called. And it was almost like they launched something really great. People were resonating with it. And then they just launched this like massive fragrance, Mer Shadow. It's a bit vanillic. It's a bit resinous, but it's Canton Biche. And he's done some fragrances like this that it reminds me of. Like most importantly, the fragrance from Chloe that he did, the vanilla fragrance. It's not identical, but it gives me hints of that. This is more resinous. It's spicy. It's more ambery, whereas the one for Chloe is a vanilla. But what I like about this, there's a slight greenness running throughout it, and then the I think it's called vanilla or Vanille Planifolia. So there's Guerlain's vanilla or Vanille Planifolia, and then the opposite would be, or the other one would be for Chloe. So they're very similar names, so I always forget. But there is something slightly green running throughout this, which to me is an awesome contrast. So great scent from Bon Parfumeur. This is 403 Mer Shadow in Extrait de Parfum concentration, by the way. And then at 104, I mean, sorry, not 104. The second fragrance from Bon Parfumeur is 104. And 104, I actually recently featured in the spring video. We do have some of those fragrances here. 104, if you're a lover of hyacinth like me, you've got to get your nose on this. If you're a lover of ivy-focused fragrances, you have to get your nose on this. So it's basically bitter orange or green orange, orange vert, jacinthe, and lierre. Lierre is ivy. Jacinthe, I think that's how you say it in French. It's hyacinth. And then, of course, green orange, orange vert, it says. So it's a bit citrusy on the start. And then the hyacinth takes over. And I was mentioning in the spring video, I was recently at Whole Foods and I went to the florist section or the flower section. And the hyacinths are in bloom and I could smell them so fragrant, even though I kind of lost my sense of smell for a bit with this flu. But those really hit me. And this is awesome that way. But this to me seems like it's more of a humid environment, like it's like capturing, because there's a humidity about it. It's the strength comes off kind of humid. And also when you're in the summertime, when you're near ivy, you can actually smell the ivy under the heat of summer. Like when you walk by it, there's this very interesting green, woody kind of a smell. But this is really awesome. One of my favorites from the line. But this one is not extract. I believe this is an eau de parfum. Actually, you know what I have to say? They do have an extrait de parfum version of this. I don't care for it as much as I like the original. But, you know, it's not always me liking the extrait de parfum version. Did I already mention that? I was mentioning something in a recent video. For me, extrait de parfums are great. I really love them. But sometimes I prefer the original versions. And in this case, with the 104, I really love the original. I think the extract is a bit too thick. And then the third fragrance I'm going to mention from Bon Parfumeur is 003, the very first fragrance I actually got. I had a 50 ml of the fragrance. It's already done and over with. What I like about this one, it's very fresh and perfectly green for summer. It's yuzu, violet leaves, and vetiver, as you see it right there. So 003. If you like violet leaves, it's a bit green. It's ozonic, but, you know, it's powdery still because it is the violet leaves. Not as powdery as the flower when it's used. But I like its freshness. It's a bit crisp. It's definitely watery, ozonic. It's a bit spicy and, of course, earthy. The vetiver is not super rooty, so it comes off fresh and not heavy. But it's a great freshie to wear if you want something different than all citruses. You definitely notice the crispness of the violet leaves. They do come off crisp. Anyway, that is 003 from Bon Parfumeur. Number 18 is Bon Parfumeur. Number 17, we've got Acro. Acro with smoke. So same time I discovered LK, I discovered Acro, but I didn't really. And actually, there's another brand here that I also discovered on that same trip to Javoy. It was at the same store. But Acro, I sampled all the Acro fragrances, and I enjoyed some. But for some reason, they didn't stand out until I visited in the summertime. I was at that same year, 2019. I went to Lucky Scent in DTLA. I circled back to Acro because they were selling it now, and I smelled smoke. And it was a bit warm. There was some humidity. The smoke came alive. Actually, it came up, like it really smelled great. And when I was testing it out in the dry down, it reminded me of a bit like tobacco vanille. But just imagine tobacco vanille with more of a smoke, like realistic smoke. With tobacco vanille, you don't get the smoke. And also, what I always mention is it's a great layering tool for tobacco vanille, because to me, this one does dry down to be a bit like tobacco vanille, minus the warm spices like cloves and cinnamon and things like ginger that tobacco vanille might feature. But if you combine them, you do get the real smoke from smoke, back row smoke, and it creates that kind of a bit more intense version, but it won't clash because there's similarities there. The smoke is smoke, tobacco, and also benzoin. Benzoin is a resin, and most likely Tobacco Vanille features it in the base as well, or something similar. And it's vanillic, so it's a resin that's sweet and vanillic. So I think the marriage between Tobacco Vanille and smoke would be awesome. But to me, this is a bit more simplistic, and it needed the heat to really resonate with me. And then once I wore it out in the heat, I was like, wow, I got to get me a bottle. It smells so good. So that's smoke. The first fragrance from Acro that I started talking about. Then it's ink. I was going to do Dark and Awake, but I've spoken a lot about Dark and Awake. Let's talk about ink. In fact, ink was also featured in the video over the weekend. Ink is a vetiver fragrance, but it's kind of rubbery, smoky, leathery, inky, dark kind of ink. And it garners compliments, which off my skin, as I was mentioning, I'd have ladies go like that. It's very interesting to have that happen behind you, because you're preoccupied, and when you hear that, you're like, okay, somebody's liking my fragrance, or maybe not liking it, but yeah, she liking it. And it's great, because I wouldn't think this fragrance would do that, but it does. The thing I have to say about, I think the reason it didn't resonate with me when I smelled it at Javoy for the first time, there is a thinness about these fragrances. They're not super beast mode. I don't think they are. I mean, they might have great lingering power, but they do need a little heat. Your body heat will start amplifying the fragrances. But ink is so different than smoke. But I think they're really great creations, personally. And I'm going to talk about Glow. Glow is their amber fragrance. And Glow, since it is, it's not a clear bottle, it's extrait de parfum, as you can see right here. If you guys didn't know, all of the fragrances of Acro are created by Olivier Cresp, who works at DSM Firmenich. He is a perfumer, probably most known for the fragrance Angel. This is a resinous amber, spicy, like golden. Yeah, I don't know if you guys smell in color or texture. I definitely do here. This does smell golden. It smells vanillic, ambery, resinous, maybe balsamic, but spicy. And it's an amber. I wouldn't say this is my most favorite amber. You guys know what ambers I like. Maître Parfumeur Gantier, Amber Perso, Ambre Sultan. But I think it's a slightly gourmand leaning, sweet, spicy, powdery, resinous amber that it eventually develops to remind you a little bit of some of the more popular ambers. But I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I like the way it smells. I love ambers. They're one of my favorite styles. But there's so many that I really enjoy, But if this is the first time you're checking out the brand, I recommend you try Glow. For me, Dark and Awake are definitely solid. In fact, for a while, I was wearing Night, which is a super spicy cumin forward fragrance, which is very polarizing. I really love it. I love the cumin note. The fragrances initially were all about addictions. Smoke is cigarette smoke. Night was an addiction to sex. Acro's Awake was a coffee addiction. Dark was a chocolate addiction. So that's what they are. But I'm not sure Glow is a addiction. Let me know. So Acro is a brand number 17. Let's move on to brand number 16. And 16, we're going to Matiere Premier. Matiere Premier, yes? You guys like the brand? So I pulled out none of their extracts, unfortunately, but they do have extracts. We're going to talk about Vanilla Powder first. Go figure, I hated this fragrance when it first launched. I mean, I didn't like it at all. But why has it gotten addicting? I don't know what it is, but I felt like something was weird about this smell. Just like Baccarat Rouge, I didn't really click with it. Maybe it's the overdose of the amber woods in the base. There's a lot of it. Maybe my nose didn't like it, but now I really enjoy the way it smells. It's powdery It's a dusty, dry, powdery vanilla. So it's not the liquid variety of vanilla that you're used to, but it's sweet and spicy. And I wouldn't say it's uber sweet. There is the extract as well, which I do enjoy, of vanilla powder. But yeah, it took me a while to get used to this one. And you can tell from the video I did, like when this launched, there were a lot of vanilla fragrances that launched around that time. And I was like, I wasn't really digging it. But when you smell it a lot, you get used to it and you're like really end up liking it. I mean, sometimes it happens with fragrances. Let me know your thoughts if that has happened to you. But vanilla powder, let me know if you're a fan. Now, this one actually was even more of a turnoff, but this has also gotten really addicting. It's Crystal Saffron. Now, this one was so sharp to my nose. Crystal, when you have the word crystal, you know it's going to be cold, icy, metallic, sharp. So the saffron is metallic smelling, has a metallic quality, but also leathery, because you pick up leather and sharpness here. And there's an overdose of ambroxan in the base too. There is a bit of a greasy kind of texture or smell or feel. There's a roughness. It has a bit of an industrial. See, that's the same thing I thought with Baccarat Rouge. It felt like it was industrial, like the overdose of ambroxan in that fragrance. My nose just couldn't tolerate it, but smelling it over and over again, I really got addicted to it. And this is kind of somewhat similar, but I really enjoy this right now. I love the way it smells. But it's a saffron, it's a lot of ambroxan, spices and woods. And leather, I mean, it's coming off very leathery too. Let me know if you're a fan of Crystal Saffron. And then we're going to talk about Encens Suave. Who's a fan of this one? So this does have somewhat similarities to things like number 5 from Rosendo Matu, maybe Baby Cat. The incense and combo of warm resins, ambery resins, is kind of what it does. But it doesn't, maybe it does have a little vanilla. It's not as sweet as Baby Cat, and I'm not saying Baby Cat is a super sweet fragrance, but it does act a little bit like that, you know? It's warm, it's spicy. I mean, there's probably pepper, like black pepper in here, because I'm smelling it. Peppery spices, maybe it's a bit leathery, but lots of incense or olibanum, frankincense, and ambery notes. What is the brand going to launch next? But let me know if you're a fan of Encens Suave. That is brand number 16, Matiere Premier. Remember, this is a list of my top 20 favorite French brands post-2012. So the year I started shooting YouTube videos. Now, I don't know if you guys know, this is my second channel. So the first channel is nowhere to be found, so you can't find any videos prior to 2015 because it's no longer there. But since 2015, this is the second channel. And I started shooting in 2012, so I decided to feature brands 2012 and on. So we've got only those brands here in the top 20. And then I'm going to talk about a few, well, not a few, a lot of brands that I decided to leave off this list because they just didn't make the list after the outro. But let's move on to brand number 15, going to the house of Initio. Parfums de Marly's not on the list. They launched in 2009, but this is their sister house, Initio. They launched in 2015, by the way, and this is Lift Me Up. Somehow, for some strange reason, I grabbed all white bottles from the line. I don't know why, but that's what happened, and I'm going to go with it. But I do enjoy other fragrances like Atomic Rose, and there's the cherry one, which first I didn't like, then I started enjoying. I forgot the name of that one, but Lift Me Up, wow. It's such a uplifting, I should say, uplifting kind of a vanilla, solar, tropical, maybe a little bit vanilla. It's super creamy and smooth, and very, very comforting. When I smell it, it somehow it just gives me a relaxed feel. So I don't know if it's the way it's smelling smooth, but it, like I said, it's super creamy. There might be coconutty touches here. There's definitely sunny solar effect happening, lightly beachy and tropical, but again, it's gourmand light, I think. But very cozy, very super cozy. That is the Lift Me Up. Let me know what your thoughts are on Lift Me Up. Add a comment below. Up next, let's see. Ooh, these bottles caps are not. Okay, they are on. Up next is Rehab. In fact, I got a whole full review of Rehab on the channel. I mean, when I first was going to speak about this fragrance, I don't know why, instantly reminded me of Parfums de Marly. Then I said, they're connected. Why wouldn't it smell similar? They're probably using similar perfumers. I mean, this one reminds me a little bit of Leighton, I think. It's kind of aromatic take on a creamy vanillic tobacco. It's once again, super smooth. No rough edges whatsoever. Same thing with these two that I've spoken about, and the third one as well. They're very smooth, clean fragrances. I think because the bottles are white, the idea of pure comes to mind. So they're acting very smooth. And I don't know why I decided to go with these three fragrances, but I did. Those came to my mind first, and I decided to go with it. But there's a few others, like Atomic Rose, and I'm drawing a blank with the name of the one with the cherry, which I didn't like at first. I didn't hate it. I just didn't think it was all that great. Then it just grew on me and ended up really enjoying it. But Rehab, I think it's quite solid. But it does remind me a little bit of, Leighton or Marly fragrances DNA. And then the third, which also was featured in the spring video recently, is Musk Therapy. So basically a smooth, creamy, fruity musk. You guys like this one? I have a full review of this one on the channel as well. I mean, it's an easygoing fruity musk and simplistic, not super wimpy. It's quite long lasting, but I wouldn't say these three fragrances are like projection monsters. These aren't fragrances that are going to be showstoppers, although they have strength. They're not like wimps, but they're made in a way that are not like big in your face projection monsters and things like that. But I like the way they smell. I think the Musk Therapy is probably the lightest out of the three, but I think it's a given. It's a musk, but I like how the fruity notes contrast against the musky notes. But again, as I was saying, there's also creaminess here, so it does come off creamy and smooth at the same time. So that's Musk Therapy, and that is Initio at number 15. Let's go to Jeroboam next at number 14. Now, Jeroboam is the sister house to Javoy, but Javoy unfortunately doesn't make this list because they launched in the 2000s. I think the story is interesting about Javoy as well. It's almost like it's a heritage house brought back, but I'm not 100% sure. But let's go to Jeroboam. I actually discovered Jeroboam a winter that I think it launched in 2015. So I was in Paris, December 2015 to January 2016. And they had the brand there. And I bought 3 of their fragrances at that time in the 30 ml. And it was, Insulo was the first one I fell in love with. It's a delicious, super spicy vanilla fragrance. And again, very long lasting. And also has a dark color when you spray it. And you can see how dark it is. Don't spray that on your white shirt, but wow, this is yummy. It's super sticky smelling vanilla, but I wouldn't say this is super sweetly gourmand. It's spicy, very spicy, and woody, Very long lasting, but you can feel and like experience the stickiness of Insulo. There's maybe some butterscotchy undertones, maybe slight caramelly undertones, and even smaller like chocolatey touches. But I think it's more like butterscotch caramel rather than like chocolate. But it's quite boozy as well. But it's a delicious vanilla fragrance. Super yummy. There is a little bit of a citrusy effect happening there as well. But Insulo is awesome. Then we've got Gozo. Gozo probably is the most popular of Jeroboam's fragrances. Everything about this fragrance, I should have fallen in love with it right away. But for me, it took a while to understand this fragrance. It just threw me off for some reason. Now I'm super addicted to it because it is a patchouli-focused fragrance. But for some reason, I don't know if it rubbed me the wrong way, but I just couldn't understand it. Like, it reminded me of head shop and candies and incense and, of course, patchouli. But it smells great. It's long-lasting. It's not super heavy, but, again, great lingering power. But it smells great, and people do compliment you wearing this fragrance because, you know, it does leave a trail. It's got this strength about it, and it blends in with my body chemistry perfectly. So it does a great job of leaving a trail, and I like that about it. But for some reason, it tricked me at first. It reminded me, like, the color, maybe it's the color orange. It always came in an orange bottle. Maybe that also threw me off because it was the first time I saw an orange color where everything was brown. And this orange thing comes to me, and it's like this head shop incense patchouli thing, hippie kind of patchouli thing with like hard candies in orange color kind of a thing. But anyway, sometimes things like that happen. But I do enjoy this one quite a bit. There's a whole deep dive video on the channel. In fact, a lot of these brands I'm talking about, I have videos on the channel, so you can always search and discover the brands further. But Gozo, let me know if you're a fan of Gozo. And then I'm going to their latest fragrance, Kunamo, which was definitely one of my favorite launches of last year. And I'm not a pear person, and the pear in this smells super awesome. Super juicy and drippy. Contrasted with all the musks. I really love the way it smells on me. The juiciness adds the freshness, and the musks add the sexiness and the strength and the depth. So to me, pear, I always think of young and childish or girlish, but this is not a girly fragrance. At least to me, it's not. It's a kind of a ripe, juicy, wet, tart, sweet tart, pear with a lot of musks, and it has strength. It has great lingering power. It smells great in the heat because of that juiciness, and of course the projection and all that kind of stuff. The musks projecting off of you, blended in with your own chemistry, I think makes a very super sexy fragrance. And I never thought pear could be sexy, but it can be with this fragrance for sure. Really awesome scent. I love it. So Kunamo is the third fragrance from Jeroboam, and Jeroboam is the 14th French brand that I'm talking about. Up to number 13 next, and we're going to Lumari. Lumari launched in 2021, so they haven't been around for a long time, and they put out the most amazing fragrance with Porthole. I remember getting my nose on Porthole in 2022. I was surprised. I was a bit cautious. Instantly, I thought, oh no, they're doing a marine fragrance. No, it's blue. And you put your nose to it and you're like, oh, it's not marine, but it's salty. It's fruity. It's a bit sweet tart. It's woody and it's musky and it smells so yummy. It really is yummy fragrance. I kid you not. If you haven't got your nose on this one, please do. It smells awesome. It's not marine, even though it has the name Porthole. It's the salt that gives you that kind of an effect. Sea salt, basically. It does have caramel. I wouldn't say this is a caramel fragrance. There is a stickiness, though. But, you've got pineapple, which has that sweet tart effect. And the salt kind of cuts through that and the caramel, but you have all the woods and musk and things like that thrown in there as well to make for an awesome wearing experience. I love it. So Porthole, we've actually featured that one in a Scent Club kit, I think in 23, I believe, a year after it came out. Let me know if you guys got that kit. But let's move on to the next fragrance from this house. We have Almeria. This is another fragrance that was featured in the Scent Club kit. We featured this one in our second Scent Club kit, actually. It's a very masculine. So I think the brand says it's a gourmand. I don't really consider this a gourmand. It has gourmand notes, but it's tobacco, so it's a bit smoky, very woody. It's very spicy. It does have sweet notes. It has almonds, but wood, spices, smoky ashiness kind of take over. But it's super long lasting. And you definitely experience the ashy smokiness of the tobacco. So it does act a bit dirty. Dirty in a good way, not in a bad way. Like it's ashy, I should say, rather than dirty. But it's super sexy, I think, the way it smells. And on skin, it lasts a long, long time. This is a really awesome scent, Almeria. When the brand launched, this had become my favorite out of the line. And then, of course, Lumari's Porthole came out the year after. And it was, you know, awesome that they have like a great fragrance created from the same team of perfumers and, you know, releasing 2-3 awesome fragrances back to back that are totally wearable, you know. But the third fragrance is the latest fragrance, not created by the same perfumer team. It's created by Julian Rasquinet, actually. It's Amber Malatia. Let me know if you guys are familiar with Amber Malatia. So this is a totally different take on amber. It's a very fruity take on amber. So apricots are king here. So apricots, it's once again super sweet tart. So for me, this is like a completely unusual take on amber because the fruit really dominates. And usually I don't associate amber with fruit. So it gives it a more fun and playful effect rather than amber being super serious. There is definitely a very creamy layer here. It's creamy smooth, but very enjoyable fragrance, I think. It's different, you know? It's not like the fragrances of the brand where they were working with one group of perfumers and then they launched this, but before this they also launched a fragrance that was very fresh citrus aromatic, kind of ice cold, created by Christian Provenzano. So they've kind of branched out and you can tell the DNA is not the same, but I think it totally fits the line. I mean, Amber Malatia is totally connected to Lumari and how unique their fragrances are. Let me know your thoughts. Have you tried Amber Malatia? What are your thoughts on Porthole and Almeria? Add a comment below. But 13, it's Lumari. Lumari's 3 fragrances, and they launched in 2021. I'm forgetting to mention when all the brands launched, but I'll write them in the info box. Hopefully I'll remember. But let's move on to the next brand. We're going with L'Orchestre Parfum. And first fragrance, Piano Santal. Super creamy, milky take on sandalwood. Really awesome smell, I think. Really cozy and comforting as well. Maybe slight bit animalic musky. But the milk effect is really there. Like sometimes sandalwood comes off milky without adding milk note to it. This literally has the note of milk. It also, I believe, has the note of skin or something that like an accord that smells like skin, a human skin. So that's why I think it kind of creates a slight animalic effect. But in the end, it's super cozy. It's a milky take on woody sandalwood. Smooth, super smooth. I think it's a great fragrance. One of the best in sandalwood out there. What are your thoughts? Piano Santal from l'Orchestre Parfum. Then we've got Liquor BPM, which is in our latest Scent Club kit. Liquor BPM. Somebody told me recently this smells like chamomile. And I never thought of this as chamomile, but now I think about chamomile because I grew up with chamomile because we used to drink chamomile tea. What do you guys get the chamomile here? It's a boozy offering. If you've ever like picked chamomile and, you know, dried it or bought dried chamomile, not in the tea bag, but the real flowers, there's a certain smell that it kind of smells like in here. But it's super ambery, woody, and very spicy, but also very boozy. And of course, you've got that kind of chamomile effect happening. It's a long-lasting offering, but it's not super thick and dense, you know? Liquor BPM. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Let me know if you sampled it in the latest Scent Club kit. And the third fragrance from l'Orchestre Parfum is Cocktail Appalachius. So if any of the brands that I spoke about today you haven't experienced yet, let me know. Add a comment below. And if you've been wanting to experience any of the brands that I spoke about that, like I said, you haven't yet, and you've been curious, which one makes you want to try that brand first? Add a comment, let me know. But this is Cocktail Appalachius. This is also a boozy fragrance. Totally different though. This is woody, boozy, spicy once again, but it doesn't have that chamomile effect, obviously. I do get a little bit of almondy effect in this, maybe a little bit of cherry as well. I could have sworn these two fragrances are created by the same perfumer, Porthole and Cocktail Appalachius. Who can tell me? But Cocktail Appalachius is yummy. There's a little bit of a peppery spice in it as well. Yeah, so Cocktail Appalachius, the third fragrance from the house of l'Orchestre Parfum, which is at number 12. Now let's move on to the brand Sora Dora. Let me know if you're a fan of Sora Dora. Of course, the first fragrance I'm going to talk about is Janny. Janny is so yummy. Have you tried it? It's super sweet though. You've got to be into sweet. If you aren't, maybe you won't like it. So it's inspired by the tarte tatin, which is an awesome delicacy. It's almost like apple pie. Here it's doughy, it's nutty, it's fruity, spicy, very autumn, winter kind of home-baked sweet dessert kind of a thing. So yummy. It smells so realistic. So realistic. It's too delicious. Like you almost want to eat it because it smells like apple pie. Literally smells like apple pie. Like putting it to your nose, how realistic it smells. Damn. I like it when the fragrances do smell realistic, even though, you know, sometimes they might be made with synthetic notes, ingredients, they still smell, that smells like real apple pie to me. The next one is Mandorle. Let me know if you're familiar with Mandorle. Mandorle to me is a fruity kind of vanillic gourmand. Not as intense as Janny, but it has great longevity because they're all extrait de parfum offerings. But there's something sexy about Mondoro that I don't get sexiness from Gianni. Gianni is full-on gourmand. Not many times I consider gourmand to be super sexy, especially the ones that are super sweet. But there is something sexy happening here with Mondoro that I like, and I really, really enjoy. But yeah, next to Gianni, it's not acting as strong because Gianni is completely beast mode. It's so super sweet and intense. This one has more elegance. It's a bit more subtle. It doesn't shout too much kind of thing. But it is yummy. And then the third fragrance from Sora Dora, I'm going with Lubu. I know this might be a bit polarizing. The inspiration for this is the Paupières d'Harmonie, but I'm not sure if the inspiration came through. I don't know if you guys know Paupières d'Harmonie. Paupières d'Harmonie inspiration was also with Bois d'Harmonie from Guerlain, which is discontinued. This is the same inspiration. In fact, it kind of reminds me of the smell of Paupières d'Harmonie because I have some that I use. It's spicy, smoky, and sweet, and resinous, and amber, of course. Because Paupières d'Harmonie is inspired by benzoin. So it's smoky, sweet and smoky, spicy. And you basically light it up, and that's kind of what you get. You get the smoke from it when you're burning it. And you have that here. I don't know why this this fragrance became a bit polarizing. I don't know if maybe people were expecting something like Gianni, but it's definitely not. But I do enjoy this one. I mean, I prefer Gianni for its realistic apple pie, you know, inspiration, but this one also enjoy because it's more ambery and smoky. Let me know your thoughts on Lubu. Let me know your thoughts on Sora Dora at number 11. So I do want to specify that I went through the list as much as I can. If I accidentally left off a brand, I apologize in advance because I went through. I did go through. And of course, stay tuned till after the outro where I will talk about what I didn't make the cut. But let's move on to the house of Parfums Dusita at number 10. We've got Fleur de Lalita first, which is a green floral fragrance recently featured in my spring fragrances video. And one of my favorite fragrances from this house. I absolutely love it. It's super sexy. So there's creamy elements because white flowers do give you that. There's galbanum in here. There's patchouli in here. It's just a great intoxicating combination of notes together. So lovely. It does remind me of spring, and it's reminding me of spring flowers. I mean, I've been walking around a little bit in the city, and I see at the parks a lot of flowers blooming. A lot of magnolia, pink magnolias or purplish magnolias, and there's a certain fragrance there. So it smells green and kind of earthy, but, you know, a bit creamy. So you've got that here. It's so good. This is so good. Fleur de Lalita is a masterpiece, I think. But we also have to talk about Tonka Latte. Tonka Latte is, you know, it's a super delicious Tonka-focused latte experience. So in the end, it's super nutty. It's almondy. Tonka does have an almondy, nutty bitterness. Taste also similar. To me, the taste is kind of like an apricot pit. If you guys ever tasted an apricot pit? But you get that here with the Tonka. A lot of it, it's a bit bitter, but it's so super creamy. But also frothy. Like you froth milk for your latte or cappuccino, you've got that frothy texture. It's super creamy and frothy, velvety smooth. For me, having a latte, or I don't have lattes, I have cappuccinos, it's 50-50. The coffee has to be good and the milk has to be perfectly frothed If the heat of the coffee melts the milk froth, then I don't like that coffee. And you get that texture here, that frothy texture. It's so velvety smooth. But it's a tonka latte because that's what it is, because it's tonka. It's bitter almondy. So that's tonka latte. And the third fragrance from Parfums Dusita is Moonlight in Chiang Mai. Yeah, this has kind of crept up there and has become a favorite of mine. It's spicy, acts a bit molecular, but it's woody. It does have a little bit of the characteristic of a fougere, but super modern, not anything like Fougere Royale or anything like that. It's a lot of zesty citruses as well, spices, but it's unique. It's unique, but also very enjoyable. It's definitely leaning masculine, and it's fresh and woody and spicy. And again, it acts molecular. I've mentioned it to Pisara, is if there's ambroxan in here. She insists it's not. It's the teak wood that's in here that creates that effect, which I'm fine with it. Maybe there's also a little bit of a watery aquatic thing happening here, but it's so good. It's a perfect everyday signature scent for a guy, I think. So good. Really, really awesome. I wouldn't say it's specifically made for a guy. I think it leans masculine. A woman can totally pull it off. So that's Moonlight in Chiang Mai. And that's Parfums Dusita at number 10. Then we're going to the house of BDK with 3 fragrances. They're at number 9. BDK is number 9. First is Passesoir Extrait de Parfum. Favorite fragrance from this house. It's the patchouli that does it always, but this is a fruity take on patchouli. It's pear and mango chutney, I believe, the notes. Long-lasting compliment getter. There's a woman that I walk past sometimes. She always compliments me when I wear this one. She's a security guard at the place I go to. But there's a very sexy quality about this one. I never really experienced the original until much later after Passesoir Extrait came out. But I can see why the original might be very popular. That's why they did an Extrait de Parfum of this one. I much prefer the Extrait de Parfum in this case for sure, because it was the first experience, the one I fell in love with. And now that I've gone to the original, I feel like the original is a bit too thin, but I think the original is the more popular with people. I just enjoy it. I think there's also chocolatey touches in here, which makes sense because it has a lot of patchouli. It complements the patchouli. Oh, it's so good. So yummy. So that's Passesoir Extrait, the first fragrance from BDK. Then I'm going to talk to you about Velvet Tonka, which I'm certainly anticipating the launch of the extrait of Velvet Tonka. But Velvet Tonka has been one of my favorites from this house. And again, as I said, I can't wait to get my nose on the extrait because it's out, or it's an exclusive at Selfridges. But this to me, so it's tonka beans once again. We had tonka latte from Dusita. Now we have Velvet Tonka from BDK. I mean, they're not identical, but this is also very creamy. It's nutty. It's sweet, but also honeyed. Well, I think that the tonka latte is also honeyed. But they are so different, even though they focus on the tonka beans. You know, tonka beans has become a favorite note of mine. I really enjoy it. It's not only used in fougères as the base note, but it's also used as a gourmand note, like tonka hysteria from Dorsey. So yummy. But this is, again, super spicy. It's almondy and tonka. I think it's a bit floral, but there's creamy touches. But for me, this in comparison to the tonka latte, this is not as creamy as tonka latte. And this is also a bit less gourmand than tonka latte. To me, it is. So let's see what they've done with the Extrait de Parfum version. But Velvet Tonka is yummy. And the third fragrance from BDK, I'm going to talk about Vanille Leather because it's definitely a favorite of mine. This might be a sleeper, not a very popular one. It is a bit old school, but I like old school fragrances. I love the vanilla combined with the leather in here. It's like an old school leather fragrance, but modernized, but still keeping the old school vibes in it. There's a major violet presence here, which complements the leather as well. So it's powdery, it's sweet, it's leathery, but more like suede leather. To me, it's fragrances like Misia from Chanel, Cuir Canage from Dior, which is discontinued. Maybe fragrances like Royal English Leather from Creed, Canise 10, Cuir Fetiche from Maître Parfumeur Gantier. It's kind of like a distant relative to fragrances like that, I think. But it's good. Really great. So that is Vanille Leather, the third and final fragrance from BDK at number 9. Then I'm going with at number 8 for Atelier d'Azur. So I put the Atelier d'Azur fragrances behind because I had a bottle fall the other day with the spring video, and it was a wobbly bottle. So those are behind. So let's talk about Atelier d'Azur. And we're going to start with Rouge Sarai, my favorite. Come on, guys, release an Extrait de Parfum of this. You can do it. So Rouge Sarai was in our very first Scent Club kit. It's a super delicious Middle Eastern dessert come to life with plums and dates. And the Peru balsam in here acts like you've drizzled honey on top of like chopped up plums and dates. And so it's balsamic, it's a vanillic, sweet, and ambery with, of course, the plums and the dates. It's so yum. So yum. So sadly, it's not one of the biggest sellers of the brand, so maybe that's why they're not launching an Extrait. But they've only launched 3 Extrait de Parfums of the house's original fragrances. L'Homme Féline, of course, got an Extrait de Parfum. Rose Omeillade, I believe, has an Extrait de Parfum. And the one in the white bottle, the jasmine that's with the marine notes, has an Extrait de Parfum as well. I'm forgetting the name of that one. But this deserves an Extrait de Parfum too, I think. It's so yummy. But it's so unique to have the fruity notes of the dates and plums in here. And it doesn't come off super fruity, but yeah, there's fruits there. I think it smells a bit more like plums because for me, dates, even though they're sweet and fruity, they don't have a distinct smell to me. So they kind of blend in more to be more of an amber texture rather than a fruity texture. So I think the plums are running the show more than the dates here. But of course, the dates are providing their stickiness. You know, you got that here for sure because it's very sticky. Really awesome scent, Rouge Sarai. Let me know if you're familiar with that. And then we've got Cocoa Kimia. So good. This is really awesome scent. Awesome stuff. It's an Extrait de Parfum. I just wish it had more projection. It doesn't have projection like I like, but it's so long lasting. It also reminds me of, it reminds me of Fumerie Turk. You guys familiar with Fumerie Turk from Serge Lutens? That's what it reminds me of. So when I first smelled this, and I smelled the other one, the Café Carda, I think, or something like that, I didn't care for that one. I loved this one. This one was an instant love. I thought at that time it had something musky in it. And Fumerie Turk from Serge Lutens, which I just realized recently, it reminded me of that. I get a slight animalic muskiness from Fumerie Turk. And that's what I was associating this fragrance to remind me of. But, oh my God, it's good. This is so damn good. So good. So it's a bit, I mean, there's probably patchouli in here because it's acting like it, but there's a lot of musk. And they're only revealing the cacao and the cardamom. Everything else is supposed to be interpreted by you. I think that's what I remember them telling us. But it's so good. Really great. If I do a ranking of this house, this is definitely top 5, if not top 3. It's that delicious. And again, it reminds me of Perfumery Turk, but with a overdose of patchouli and amped up musk. And of course, maybe some tobacco, but more like the leaf rather than smoke, because this is not smoky. And Perfumery Turk is also not smoky. It's a bit musty, leafy. There's nothing wrong with musty. I mean, I love Perfumery Turk, and I love this one too. And I mentioned recently also, late last year, Perfumery Turk was in the tall black bottle. They've discontinued that collection. It's now moved into bell jars, so which it's even more difficult to get those fragrances. So if you're looking for Perfumery Turk, get yourself a bottle of Cocoa Kimia. They have similarities. It's funny, when I did that video, I announced the fact, because I had just gotten back from France, and I went to the Serge Lutin's boutique on the Rue Saint Honoré, and they told me that collection is discontinued, no more, everything's moved into the bell jars. I came back, I saw that there was some Perfumery Turk stock out there, and I made the video, mentioned it, and I think the Perfumery Turk sold out. But prior to airing the video, I ordered a bottle myself, but there was some damn problem with shipping, and it got returned, and I never got my bottle, backup bottle, which I'm bummed. But luckily, this does come close. Not identical, by the way. It has its similarities. Now, the last fragrance from Atelier des Ors is Lune Feline. I can't forget this one. And this is how I discovered this brand. Well, I mean, I discovered the brand in December 2014, January 2015 at Javoy. But I was on a trip December 2014, January 2015 in France, and I arrived in Paris in January 2015. And I went to Javoy, and they had just put that brand out, and I bought a bottle of Lune Feline. What I really liked about the bottles, because they are very Art Deco, and of course, I really like the gold flakes floating in there. I mean, it instantly reminded me of Goldschlager, which I've never really had myself, but I've seen the bottles. But what's the deal with Lune Feline? It's a musky, spicy, balsamic, dark, medicinal take on vanilla. So I wouldn't say it's quite gourmand. It's not. But it is vanilla. And you're taking the vanilla into a dark territory. In fact, there's a video on the channel called Dark Vanilla Fragrances. This is featured in that video. Go catch that video if you haven't watched it. If you're not into gourmand, but you like the idea of vanilla, taking it into a darker territory, for sure go and catch my dark vanilla fragrances. But that is Lune Feline from Atelier des Ors. There's also an extrait de parfum, as I mentioned, of Atelier des Ors' Lune Feline. So you can also search for that if you want. All right, so number 8, Atelier des Ors. Now we're going to number 7 with Room 1015. Who's a fan of Room 1015? The first fragrance is Cherry Punk Extrait. Yes, this bottle. It's not easy to take off the sleeve, unfortunately, and I don't want to hurt my fingers, but Cherry Punk Extrait, I think Cherry Punk in general is what fragrance put this brand on the map. Is the fragrance that put this brand on the map, I should say. And also it was launched like right in the deep in the heart of COVID. And I think I remember that everybody was talking about this Cherry Punk. But for me, Cherry Punk Extrait is more interesting because it's getting more leathery. So the fragrance, the cherryness, Cherry Punk does remind me of Lost Cherry. The cherry in it does remind me of Lost Cherry. And the leather in this is that kind of a vinyl-y, rubbery leather, which gives you that kind of a punky attitude. So you've got a sweet, innocent side with the cherries, and then you've got the dark, bad girl side on the other side, or bad boy side on the other side, with the leather, the dark kind of rubbery black leather. So along the way, you have, of course, saffron spice. You've got some light almonds. It's a Jeroboam creation, by the way. And he does a lot of Byredo fragrances. So that is Cherry Punk Extrait. Now that's Jeroboam, and the brand's been working with Jerome de Marino lately. So we're going to talk about Love-O-Matic. It's a recent launch. I love the name, Love-O-Matic. It's super soapy, aldehydic, clean, fizzy, fresh. It's a kind of fragrance you can literally spray a ton of in the summertime. And invigorating cleanness. Subconsciously, you'll feel clean because it's super soapy. It's very sudsy. There's definitely effervescence, and it's like, for the first time, I'm reminded of 7-Up. I don't know why. There must be a ton of citruses in here. But fun name, great fragrance from room 1015, Love-O-Matic. Let me know if you're a fan. And I think the latest fragrance from the house is Electric Wood Extrait de Parfum. Electric Wood Extrait de Parfum. Much better than the original Electric Wood. This is also a kind of fragrance that has dusting of cacao, like this amber, Ella K's Amber K, as I was saying, has a dusting of cacao. This one does too. Like, it's got cacao, but it's all woods. Creamy, smooth woods. So there's some sweetness there. So it does act a bit gourmand-esque, but I wouldn't say this is like a super duper gourmand. But the original Electric Wood, I really like the team that created it, the perfumers behind it, but I just didn't care for the fragrance itself. And actually, it got discontinued. And then they've launched a new extract with a completely different perfumer. And to me, it's a night and day difference. I don't know. It was original Electric Wood, I felt like, was just straightforward woods. Not much going on except for woods. And to me, that kind of a fragrance kind of becomes boring. This has some excitement. Still, it's pretty straightforward, woodsy, but you have some sweetness in there. And you've got the kind of cacao chocolatey touches. So, and it's got a layer of sweet gourmand effect happening with the woods mostly. So that's why I like this one a lot more. Anyway, so that's Electric Wood Extrait de Parfum. And we're ending number 7 brand, room 1015, at number 7. And we're moving on to number 6, brand number 6, Maison Crivelli. And we're going to start with Iris Mollicon. Maison Crivelli launched, I think, in 2019, but really didn't get on the scene until around 2020. And I fell in love with Iris Mollicon. Out of all the fragrances they had at that time, it was my favorite. It's iris, it's powdery, but also buttery and leathery. And what makes this very unique is the galbanum note that's in here. Really cuts through the buttery creaminess of the orris, and the leather. And it makes a great contrast and enjoyable. This might remind a little bit of something like Irish leather from Memo Paris, or even not tomato leather, what am I saying? Even Italian leather, which is tomato leaf and leather. But I feel like here it's buttery rich with the orris, and I don't think the other two fragrances are that buttery rich. But you know what, also I should say, This does remind me a little bit of Copper from Comme des Garçons as well. So all of them utilize, most of them utilize galbanum, except for the Italian leather utilizing the tomato leaves, still green and bitter. So giving you that kind of an effect. But what I like about this one the most is the buttery orris. It's so awesome. And it makes the leather kind of suede leather-like because it's got that smoothness and butteriness rather than something really harsh and animalic. That's a great fragrance. I don't know why, but maybe he should make an extrait de parfum of that. What do you guys think? Then we're going to talk about 2 extrait de parfums from Maison Crivelli. First, I'll talk about Patchouli Magnetic. Super polarizing fragrance. I wore a lot of this. This was my favorite extract post Hibiscus Mahajad. Was this the second extract? Or was Ambre Chromatique before this? I think this came after Hibiscus Mahajad. Then it was Ambre Chromatique. I didn't care for Ambre Chromatique, and I didn't like Hibiscus Mahajad. This one is Patchouli. Super milky, creamy, but also major intense. So intense, so loud, so long-lasting, so milky and earthy. Wow, it's intense. I got compliments wearing this, and a lot of people don't like this fragrance. I don't know. It's very polarizing. It's either you love it or you hate it. I am one that loves this fragrance. Again, I didn't care for Ambre Chromatique. I don't like it. I didn't care for Hibiscus Mahajad, which is what everybody loves. This resonates with me because of the patchouli. Let me know your thoughts. Probably 9 out of 10 is going to be hate, but I love that. This one, on the other hand, I think is universally loved. This is Tuberose Astral. Tuberose Astral is super sexy, very long lasting, also a creamy take on Tuberose. Very modern, very bubble gummy, but since it is Canton Biche, it has the signature spicy kind of cuminy touches in there. Very modern tuberose, and I've been mentioning, I've been hating tuberose. It's tuberose that, I mean, I love vintage fragrances. I don't know what it is about vintage smelling tuberose fragrances that are turning me off. But here, it's bubblegummy. It's also kind of apple-y. There's an apple crispness in here. It could be it could be violet leaves, because he does use violet. Quinton Biche uses violet leaves quite a bit in fragrances like Ganymede, maybe even B683. Because violet leaves does give me an apple crisp, a juicy, fruity effect. Sometimes even cucumbery. But this Tuberose Astral is so good. Long-lasting, compliment getter. Really awesome scent from Maison Crivelli. So Maison Crivelli at number 6. We're going to Marc-Antoine Barrois at number 5. Of course, we got to talk about Ganymede, and we are keeping with the same perfumer. Although I didn't mention, Iris Molicon is not Quinton Biche. Quinton Biche only has done the extracts, and not all the extracts of Maison Crivelli, by the way. But this Ganymede is Quinton Biche, Canton Biche. It's a great scent. Ganymede, I think, is kind of like, I think it's got the hype of a fragrance like Baccarat Rouge. Probably not as much, but it's got a following. It's also super sexy. It's violet leaves, leather, it's minerally, it's immortelle. There's a fuzzy, dusty quality about it. I love that. It has an autumnal experience. I think the way the fragrance smells. I think it also has saffron. So there's definitely something dry and autumnal here. But it acts a bit molecular, and maybe because And although I shouldn't say maybe because he uses akigala wood, to me it doesn't, akigala wood doesn't smell like ambroxan. It smells like a stripped down patchouli. So, but whatever it is, it's great. Ganymede is awesome. Definitely one of the best fragrances that Quantum Biche has created. I'm going to talk about B683 Extrait de Parfum. Super beast mode, guys. If you want beast mode, long-lasting Extrait de Parfum and animalic, go for this. It's quite animalic. Woo. It's dirt. It's a bit dirty. I think it's got oud. I mean, B683, the original, came out first from Marc-Antoine Barrois. He launched with one fragrance. And then he launched Ganymede. And then he launched B683 Extract. And then he launched Ensalade. And then he launched Ganymede Extrait. And then he launched Tilia. And then it's the tuberose one, which is very polarizing. But here you have, for me, B683 always had, well, Ganymede had reminders of B683. And here it's basically an intensified version of B683 going into an animalic direction. But also there's a creamy layer under here that kind of reminds me of the creaminess of Tuberose Astral a little bit. What is it about Quantum Biche that a lot of people love? And what is it about Quantum Biche that some of you do not like or love? Because there's a lot of hate for him as well. This is good though. If you like it dirty, go for that. Last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Tilia. I was underwhelmed with Tilia and then it grew on me, but I don't love it as much as I like some of the other fragrances from the house. It is a Linden Blossom focused fragrance. Linden Blossom is so gorgeous, so awesome, so intoxicating if you experience it. Late May to June. And to me, this doesn't smell like the Linden Blossom. Well, I should first say, Quantum Biche has done a fragrance for the brand Le Galion called Tillul, which is a Linden Blossom focused fragrance. That fragrance, the Linden Blossom, smells more realistic than here. This smells to me like more of a futuristic Linden Blossom. I mean, it's there, you can pick it up, but it's covered up with his other notes and ingredients that it's hiding a bit. But this has grown on me. I enjoy it now because I do pick up the Quantum Biche DNA in here quite a bit. But the flowers kind of hide it, you know? Then it appears and you're reminded of it. And it also kind of reminds me a little bit of Tuberose Astral. Because I believe Tilia and Tuberose Astral launched around the same time. But, you know, obviously Tilia is not an Extrait de Parfum and Tuberose Astral is. Which do you prefer, Tilia or Tuberose Astral? Let me know, add a comment below. And that is the end of Marc-Antoine Barrois, the number 5th French brand, post-2012. Now, Marc-Antoine Barrois was a couturier, and I've actually been to his shop. I shot a video there of him when he launched Ganymede back in 2019. So you can tune in and catch that video. But let's move on to the next house. At number 4, we've got Reine de Saba, launched in 2022. We've got the first fragrance. Let's see. These are wobbly bottles, so I have to make sure they don't wobble down. First fragrance, Reine Maqueda. Reine Maqueda, guys, is so sexy. It's an Anne Flippo creation with iris, cashmere wood, orange blossom, floral notes, white flowers. I think this was in my spring video. Oh my God, it's sexy on skin. And in the heat, this thing comes alive. It shines. Smells fantastic. And also when the orange blossom appears a little bit more, you're reminded of that orange blossom dessert I was talking about earlier with the Neroli Hasbaya. But this is quite delicious. This brand is not very hyped. Not many people talk about it. But they have some great fragrances. And I've picked 3 of the best from the line. So that's the first one, Rain Makeda, created by Anflippo. They list the names of the perfumers on here, as you can see. I don't know if you can see that right there. So good. That stuff is amazing, by the way. Then we're going to talk about Divine Temptation. This one is created by Matthew Nardin. This is a boozy, kind of tobacco-ish, warm, spicy fragrance. These 3 that I'm talking about are the best of the best from this house. Oh man, this is good. Holidays come to life. Warm, spicy, amber, fruity. It's delicious. Oh man. So Matthew Nardin does a lot of fragrances for Miller Harris. I think he has a similar, not quite this way, but a similar idea kind of fragrance for them as well that was launched within the last couple of years. I do prefer this one more than the other though. So good though. Let me know if you're a fan of Divine Temptation from the house of Reine de Saba. Then last but not least, it's Esprit Saba. This is also really great. This is actually Michel Almerac. Don't know if you guys know Michel Almerac's fragrances. This is Rose and Figs. And in the heat, it shines like an awesome scent. It's such a unique smell. I haven't smelled anything like this before. Like, sometimes there's fragrances that you put your nose on and you can kind of strip it apart and say, I know this is in here and that is in there. But sometimes there's fragrances, they're blended so much that they smell so great, you can't tell what's in there. And this is one of those fragrances. But it is fruity. It's got figs and rose, and it's got spices. It's a bit ambery, woody, but super delicious. Let me know if you're familiar with Esprit Saba from the house of Reine de Saba. So Reine de Saba is the brand at number 4. We've got 3 more left, guys, and I'm going to talk to you about the brands that didn't make the cut after the outro. 3 brands left. Number 3 brand, Essential Parfums. We're going to start with Divine Vanille. Yes, Divine Vanille. Olivier Pechot, who created Divine Vanille, passed away sadly. There's a video on his fragrances on the channel. Olivier Pechot did a lot of fragrances for Diptyque, by the way. But what's this one? Actually, it's funny. I actually wore this one yesterday to a dinner. But I remember I got compliments from who I was having dinner with. And I was like, is she making a point about me giving her a sample or something? Because it's a relative, but not necessarily just a family relative kind of a thing. But what I like about this one, it's a bit fruity. It's tobacco. It's vanilla, but not super creamy. It's like a bit textural, a bit dry. And there's warm spices in there. And it smells great. It's long lasting. It's got not the most potent projection, but it's got great projection. And I piled a ton of this on last night, and I really smelled great. It's not super cold anymore, but it is still cold. But, you know, it smells really, really awesome on skin. So that is the first fragrance from Essential Parfums, Divine Vanille. Then we've got Patchouli Mania. These are my 2 favorites from the house. My two most favorites, by the way. Patchouli Mania is created by Fabrice Pellegrin. So Fabrice Pellegrin is Firmenich, DSM Firmenich. And Olivier Pechot was with Givaudan. Patchouli Mania is also really awesome. I think it's a nutty take on patchouli. Oh, it's super earthy. Not necessarily uber chocolatey, though. But so nice. So awesome. And just keep in mind, we have these two in two bottles for the price of one in our store currently, if you're in the market to get those two fragrances. And last but not least, probably the most successful or the most popular of the bunch from Essential Parfums is Bois Imperial, which is Quinton Biche once again, and is kind of similar DNA to Ganymede and B683. So it's a woody, spicy, earthy, aromatic creation. It's interesting with the Essential Parfums. I don't get the dry texture that I get with the Marc-Antoine Barrois fragrances. There's a creamy effect happening with the Essential Parfums. The base is a bit creamier, whereas Ganymede is super dry. It has a dry effect. And B683 also. But, you know, you're still reminded of those fragrances here. Because I feel like Ganymede is an evolution of B683. It feels like it. It smells like it. And this is kind of an evolution of those two fragrances, I think. So that's Bois Imperial. Let me know if you're a fan. So that's Essential Parfums. And Essential Parfums are under $100 each bottle. So they're very inexpensive for a niche house. But as I was saying, we've got a kit with these two fragrances that's $100. So you're getting two for the price of one. And we do have a few other collection fragrances as well. And then we've got two brands left, guys. Number two brand is Les Eaux Primordiales. We're going to talk about Vanille Supermassive first. So awesome for a masculine take on vanilla. Even though it has gourmand notes, it doesn't act gourmand. It's super spicy, woody, musky take on vanilla. But super sexy, smells so awesome in the heat. There's aromatic notes, aromatic woods. There's caramel in here, so it adds a little stickiness and sweetness. But I wouldn't say this is, like I said, a gourmand. It's just a kind of a dry, dusty, musky, spicy, aromatic take on vanilla. It's so good. I first tested this out at Harrods while it was exclusive at Harrods. And I was like, wow, that's great. It was also during a heat wave when I was there. It was like September. So it was quite hot and it smelled great in the heat. So that's Vanille Supermassive from the house of Les Eaux Primordiales. We've got Mécanique Intuitive next. This is a sleeper one for the house. And don't sleep on it. It's a great one. It's boozy. It's nutty. It's gourmand. And it's almost like an offspring of their more popular fragrance, Ambre Superfluide, which later became Ambre Supermassive. But to me, it's a bit better. It's got a very, what's the word I'm thinking of? Kind of a very glossy texture. And it also kind of hints a little bit at things like Wajan because it's very warm, spicy. But man, it's good. It's boozy, it's nutty, it's fruity. Inspired by a speakeasy bar. So it's got tobacco in it as well. So that is Mécanique Intuitive. And then finally, we've got Amber Supermassive. I was not a fan of the Amber Super Fluid, but I do enjoy the Amber Supermassive a lot more. I like it a little more intense. I don't know, but Amber Super Fluid is their biggest seller. I just don't get it. Sometimes I don't click with fragrances that other people click with. But here, they've just taken the Amber Super Fluid and intensified it, and made the fragrance Amber Supermassive. They don't have a vanilla super fluid, by the way. They just went straight to the super massive. But once again, it's fruity, it's warm, spicy, lots of amber for sure. And, quite intense, long lasting. It's an extrait de parfum. But really wonderful offering. But still, I prefer the other two a little more than this. I also enjoy a lot of their other fragrances like Color Premier. The Cedar Super Fluid is also really great. The Oud is awesome. The Saffron is really great. So great house for me. Definitely a number 2. In fact, I had a hard time putting number 1 or number 2. But Les Eaux Primordiales ended up at number 2. But my number 1 favorite French house now is Nuit Nomade. By the way, before I talk about the 3 fragrances from Nuit Nomade, go catch my video that I recently launched with the founder of Nuit Nomade. And I also have videos with the founder of Les Eaux Primordiales. But go catch my video with the founder of Nuit Nomade that had shot last year in October during TFWA, if you're curious to learn more about Nuit Nomade. But let's talk about the first fragrance, Jardin de Misfa. Instant love about this one. Again, that same trip that I discovered Acro and Ella K, I discovered this brand. It was like 2019, and I enjoyed some of the fragrances, but pandemic came, and during the days when you can go out and about, I went to ZGO because they opened it, and they had just put out Jardin de Misfa because this launched, I believe, around during the pandemic, and instantly at that time I bought a bottle, fell in love with it, wore through the 50 ml. Jardin de Misfa is a sweet tart take on rose, saffron, dates, almonds. So it's not gourmand because it doesn't act like it, but it does have those kind of gourmand style notes. But very unique, and it smells great in the heat. It's that kind of a fragrance. Now, in this case, I am preferring the Eau de Parfum version instead of the extract that just came out. But I think I have to kind of test them out again side by side to see which I'm preferring. I like that I can spray a lot of this on and wear it more in the heat. And I didn't get that kind of a vibe with the extract because it is a lot more dense. For me, the freshness of, and it's not a fresh fragrance, it's got complexity, but when you compare it to the extract, it is fresher. But it's so good. Really awesome scent. Jardin de Misfa. Let me know if you've discovered that fragrance. I'm going to talk about one that's not hyped as much. It's Click Song. It's a patchouli balm with rose. This time, rose and patchouli do go together. Really do. Kind of like a chypre, but I love this. It smells super sexy. The patchouli is a bit chocolatey, but I wouldn't say it's chocolatey like Javoy's Psychedelique, but there is a chocolatey texture there. But it is brightened up by the rose, the jammy kind of rose, and the Jardin de Misfa had the rose as well. Not the same rose, but similar kind of roses. But great longevity with Click Song. It's super sexy. It is deeper a bit more than Jardin de Misfa, but I don't care. I can wear it in the heat because I love patchouli in the heat because it projects a lot more. And that's what I like about this one. The patchouli is king here, and I love that. And contrasted with the rose, they really work wonderfully together. And that's why I'm featuring that one here now. But the brand has so many other great fragrances. But that's Click Song. And then the last fragrance I'm going to talk about from the house is their latest extract, Chemin d'Amande, which is also in a recent Scent Club kit, by the way. Chemin d'Amande is unique for a gourmand because it has the wheat, so it's kind of granular. It's got the wheat note, with the almonds and the vanilla. So when you smell it, it's got that marzipan-y bitter almond effect here. And you can actually smell the texture of the wheat in here, the grains. And it's like, you're almost like mixing a bowl of ground almonds, and the wheat texture is there. And then you're dripping in a lot of vanilla or something. And it's like mixing it. It's becoming a bit dough-like. And that's what you get here. Super cozy. Really, really delicious. It's so yum, really. There is a little bit of a chocolatey effect, and I've also mentioned in other videos. It does remind me a little bit of something in Estrella de la Mañana. Like when you get past the smoke and leather from Estrella de la Mañana, what's under there, it reminds me a little bit. So it's the same perfumer, Jerome de Marino, who did Chemin de Monde and also Estrella de la Mañana and also Jardin de Misfa. So I think he might have used a similar base, because there's something reminding me of Estrella de la Mañana, but Estrella de la Mañana is so super smoky and leathery. So you can probably miss it, but here I get the reminder a little bit. But it's too awesome. Really delicious scent. So that's Chemin de Monde. And that's the last fragrance with the #1 brand, Nuit Nomade. So that's the list. Top 20 post-2012 French brands, mostly new brands. Yeah, it was a long time coming for me to do this video, and I finally have done it. And I'm sorry if I missed a brand that you like. I went through the list several times just to make sure I'm not missing. And again, as I said, I'm going to talk about what I left off after the outro. But also, some of the brands that you're probably familiar with might have launched before 2012. As I was saying earlier, I was going to want to feature Olfactive Studio and Liquid Imaginaire, but those brands launched in 2011. So I left them off because I just wanted to do whatever launched in 2012, because I started doing YouTube in 2012 for fragrances. Anyway, thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on these fragrances and these brands. How would you rank this top 20 list? And actually, maybe you can go and decide with the 21 to 27 as well. How would you rank the list? Add a comment below, because the fragrances themselves aren't ranked, the brands are. So let me know how you would rank the brands. Add a comment below. Everything should be tagged with the products if you want to buy them. They're all time-stamped like the chapters are. So if you're watching, you can pause the video. There should be a little image on the left bottom with the product. It should open up a window of all the products that I've been able to tag here. Some brands are not available on YouTube shopping, some are. So I'll tag as much as I can. And if you're in the market, take advantage of them. But do let me know what your thoughts are on the fragrances. Do give me your own ranking. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click the bell icon so you'll be reminded of the future videos. Don't forget to subscribe to the Shorts channel as well. I have it linked in the info box. And please give a thumbs up for this video so it helps with the algorithm. See you guys later. Bye-bye. Okay, so the brands that did not make the cut. JUS. Didn't make the cut. I didn't think it needed to be in the top 20 list. Spiritum didn't make the cut. I don't know what's going on with that brand, but I don't know. So Obvious Parfums, I like a lot of their fragrances and I've recommended them, but they just didn't make the top 20. In fact, they probably were going to be around 30. Chabot, they just didn't make. Well, I'm just going to tell you what the brands are. You can tell me if you like them. Chabot, they launched in 2014. HFC, Haute Fragrance Company, 2017. Maison Mataha, 2020. Rus and Rus, 2014. Now, Rus and Rus, I've featured Malamata in a kit. I love that fragrance, but I'm completely unfamiliar with the brand, with a lot of their fragrances. I mean, I've sampled their fragrances. I haven't worn much except for Malamata, which was an instant love. Now, I looked up Scents of Wood. The founder is from France, but the brand is really from the USA, out of Utah. So it was a bit of a technicality. I decided to leave it off. State of Mind, I've spoken about their fragrances here and there. The one I kind of feel bad about is Stefan Humbert Lucas. Now, they've been around since 2013. I only own a few of their fragrances, and I haven't really gotten into this brand. And I know it has a following, but I just never really got into the brand. Gonna hopefully come full circle and try and see if I can dig into the brand further. Chambre 52, they just launched, and I did a video on the line, so I haven't really dug into them. Eternal Journey also recently launched. 2023 is when they launched. And I've done a video on the first 3 fragrances as well, but they just didn't make the cut, obviously. Fast Scent, I recently did a video of their fragrances. They launched in 2023. They just didn't make the cut. They're also a lower priced collection of fragrances. That doesn't mean anything, but they just didn't make the cut. FOA launched in 2018. I don't even know what's going on with that brand. Lark, again, didn't make the cut. Len Fragrances, nope, didn't make the cut. Let's see, where are we? Lenoble Essences launched in 2024. They only have 2 fragrances. Maison Rabachi, I don't know what's going on with this brand, but they launched in 2018. I remember their launch because they launched at Petit Fragranza, but I haven't really clicked with the brand, I guess. Maison Sambin, they only have 3 fragrances. I thought they were going to take off and stuff, but no, it didn't make the cut. Majuri, nope, didn't make the cut. Maison, now this brand I'm really hyped about. In fact, we featured 2 of their fragrances in a mystery box. You would have either gotten one or the other, though, because they sent us split samples. Really, really hoping to dig into this brand further. I just featured them in a video of fragrances that you must get your nose on, and all 3 are awesome. So they have, I think, 5 total fragrances that I want to see if I can get my nose on the other 2. So that brand might kind of move up the list. But if you're curious to learn more about Maison, search the channel, Mezel. Now, Miles Wambao, I don't know what's going on. They only launched their fragrances in 2019. They haven't launched anything since then. So I don't know what's going on. Ulika Parfums, they've got several fragrances, but still didn't deserve to be in the top 20. Spaturno, they just launched in 2025, so unfortunately... No, I did mention Spaturno actually earlier, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I mentioned them as... or maybe not. No, I didn't mention them. So Spaturno, they just didn't make the cut. Soul of Maquin, they do have a few fragrances, few great fragrances, but they didn't make the cut. Solferino Paris, they didn't make the cut, unfortunately. They just launched last year. Sabe Maison, nope, 2014 is when they launched. Perroy, no, but their sister house, Les Eaux Primordiales, is at number 2. Perroy is probably in the 30 to 40. Paradis Descends, I've known about the brand. I don't even own anything from that house. They launched in 2020. Orange launched in 2018. Didn't make the cut. And then finally, Olibanum with a period at the end. Launched in 2022. I have a video on the channel. I also have a video on the channel of Orange Parfums. So these are the brands that they just didn't make the cut, unfortunately. And again, I'll apologize now. If I missed a brand, it's easy to miss brands because there's so many to keep track of. But I think these are pretty much what there are out there, the top 20, and of course the 21 to 27. But if I did miss something, let me know. But just double check, make sure they didn't launch in 2011 and prior to that. Like Serge Lutens, Frederic Malle, Histoire de Parfums, Parfum d'Empire, Atelier Orange, those are all older brands. They launched in the 2000s, so they wouldn't make this. Even Javoy, I don't know what else is left. L'Artisan launched in the 70s. What else? Diptyque launched in the 70s. I mean, Serge Lutens launched in the 90s. Parfums de Nicolai launched in the 80s. Maître Parfum at Gantier launched in the 80s. So, yeah, let me know. Add a comment below. And thanks so much for watching. See you guys later. Bye-bye.